We'll call this meeting of the Craven County Board of Commissioners regular session for Monday, June 5th, 2023 to order. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Here.
Commissioner Mark?
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Here.
Chairman Jones?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask, if you will, please let's stand together as I ask the county attorney to lead us in prayer. Then I ask you to please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
Loving God, you are author of life and origin of all created things. We ask that your grace and blessing be bestowed upon the men and women who have been called to serve our county on this board of commissioners. Help them to represent their constituents wisely with an eye toward safeguarding the deeper truths of human life that come only from you. Bless the people that they represent. Bless our country and our county. Help our commissioners to make decisions that will uphold the values of peace and justice in our land and throughout the world. We ask this in God's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you this evening to the Board of Commissioners meeting, which is your meeting also. To those who may be viewing online, we welcome you. I would ask for those that are in attendance this evening, if you would, please, let's make sure that our cell phones are on silent so they wouldn't disrupt this meeting. We would appreciate it. Commissioners, you have before you your agenda packets. Are there any items you desire to add or to pull from tonight's agenda? Hear none, do I have a motion that we accept the agenda? We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. But before we begin asking citizens to come forth and to present before the Board of Commissioners, I'm going to ask the County Manager, if he will, and make a few comments. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity. Tonight's the culmination of a month's worth of work. We have presented the budget to you back in May. We've done 3 budget work study sessions, and we had a meeting prior to this to go over anything that was held over from those meetings. At the current time, we are still at a revenue-neutral tax rate of 44.48 cents. That is equal to, of course, the rate you have now based on the reval schedule. We are also appropriating $244,572 of fund balance to balance the budget, and that comes from various additions and deletions throughout, mainly associated with special appropriations of nonprofits in the community. I'm available for questions. If not, I'd ask you to open the public hearing and receive comments from the public.
All right, any questions for the County Manager? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion that we would go into public hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Vice Chair, we're now in public hearing. If you will, please call the roll.
This is public hearing for the 2023-24 budget, and the first person is Albert Lester. Give your name and address, please.
Commissioners, good afternoon.
Good evening.
My name is Albert Lester. I live at 706 Badger Lane, Havelock, North Carolina. I appreciate the board giving me an opportunity to speak on the 23-24 budget. And I want to thank Mr. Hodges. A year ago, he instructed me on how to look at the budget, understand the budget. And this year, I didn't need his assistance. I really appreciate that. The budget is a complex organism, and we expect the board to spend our tax dollars in an efficient way to make sure that every citizen is happy. We know that every citizen is not going to be happy no matter what we do. Somebody's going to be happy, somebody's not going to be happy. But I looked it over, and I really appreciate the board going back and reconsidering some of the things that they didn't, and I guess in one of the workshops, they didn't consider it, or they didn't pass it, but they went back and reconsidered it and then they passed it. They said yay. And I want to say that we should continue to fund first responders at a high level. Because we as citizens of Craven County, when we look around and we dial 911, we don't want to hear anything but sirens, people coming to help us. We don't want to hear, well, that position wasn't funded. We don't want to hear that. We have a lot of praise for our sheriff. We have a lot of praise for DSS. Those are one of our top funding departments. We have to keep them funded to make things better for our citizens and our seniors. A lot of us are getting a little bit older, but not any younger. And when we dial 911, we expect the help to arrive. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Lauren Carver.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners and citizens of Craven County. My name is Lauren Carver. I'm the founder of Project North Carolina. My business address is 200 North William Street in Goldsboro, North Carolina. I'm here today to assist the citizens with some issues and concerns that they have about county finances. Since 2020, we have documented $12,696 that were collected for the Craven County, Craven Pamlico Animal Services Center, either through the use of social media or the Craven County Health Department Foundation. This is just what we were able to document and prove on social media alone. I have included a packet that documents this money. According to North Carolina General Statute 159(8) and 32, all monetary funds, there is a requirement that all monetary donations, including those designated for specific departments, programs, and projects, for them to be documented as revenue by the county or by the department that received the money. In the 2021 and 2022 annual health report from the department, there is no mention of that money going to animal services. There's no mention of that money going towards the surgical room that they have. The money's not documented at all outside of what was posted on social media that was raised. In 2022, Commissioner Mitchell actually raised over $7,000 one day for animal services. That money was never documented by the health department. It was never.
Can I stop you, if you will? Stop the clock, please.
There's no
We-
clock on this.
Well, that's correct. There's no clock. Thank you. We appreciate you speaking and anyone speaking.
Right.
But it is, and we are not going to hinder you from speaking.
Thank you.
But I do not like let me rephrase that. I would ask for you not to call out individual commissioners, please.
It was on public social media.
But
so
I would
it's-
ask for you,
Right.
please. Okay?
Sure.
All right.
Social media.
So it's one of those things like, why isn't this money being claimed? Why isn't this money being reported as a revenue? What is it being used for? Why is it not being claimed in the budget as monetary donations received on all of these annual budgets since 2020? Where is this money and what was it used for? The county is responsible for keeping up with that, and the citizens paid for all of this. The citizens donated this money, and they deserve to know what it went towards, how it was spent, and whatever it was spent on, how is that being used? Is it being used to benefit the public? Is it being used to benefit the animals? One of the things that was promised out of getting this surgical room funded was a low-cost spay and neuter program for citizens. We've yet to see that. The state spay and neuter program reimburses an average of 50 to 70% of surgery costs that the county could get reimbursement for, and offer services to citizens that would reduce the amount of animals going into the shelter. The state's average for euthanasia reduction after implementing the state program is 52%. Craven County has a euthanasia rate of 46%. If we could cut that in half, it would benefit the animals, it would benefit the shelter, it would show that the county is operating a functional, efficient program. And I think that all of the citizens want to see a more efficiently ran program that can generate money for the county instead of lose the county money. These issues are important to document. All of the counties that have a surgical room are no-kill. So we have these things available in Craven County, but they're not being used in a way that is efficient and reduces euthanasia rates and offers services to citizens. We do invite the county to have a more in-depth conversation with our organization about trying to fix some of these matters. We do want to see a better trust relationship with the county and the citizens regarding the shelter. We do want to see a program that the county and citizens can be proud of. I know that the board would probably want that too. Any county would like to have a successful program that is doing more for the citizens, and they paid for it, so they deserve to have that. And that money deserves to be documented properly as the law prescribes. And the citizens need to know that money is being raised, it's not being accounted for.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Mr. Vice Chair.
Next person is Nell Hudson. Hodson, I'm not sure which. Hudson.
Nell Hudson, 301 Fairway Drive, Trentwoods. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about the budget. Our public schools and our Board of Elections need more funding. As a poll greeter, I know, like many of you, all the questions people have had over the last few years regarding voting, and we are going to need a big voter education drive to let people know about the new voter photo identification rules, changes in voter eligibility for our formerly incarcerated felons, as well as any other new rules that might come out of Raleigh. So no one should feel scared wondering if they're allowed to vote or if their vote counts. In talking about public education, the state of North Carolina ranked last in funding efforts, and in 2020-2021, Craven County only ranked 73 out of 100, with 1 being the best. So we have some room for local funding improvement. PTAs, band, and athletic boosters can only fundraise so much. Teachers only have time to write so many grants. With the statewide teacher shortage, we need an increase in funding so that our teachers, classrooms, arts, and athletic programs have what they need. Around 2014, the equipment maintenance budget for our middle and high schools' athletic departments was cut. We need that funding restored. One new or necessary expense is on safety. School safety is very important, but these necessary security dollars need to be matched so that other education needs are not sacrificed. And while closing and consolidating schools might seem like a good idea to some, schools should only be closed with the children's and the community's well-being in mind. We need to make sure that we're not exchanging one set of budget problems for another when we talk about closing schools. This current school budget reduces the school district's fund balance, but the fund balance is being used to pay for salaries for important positions, and we need a commitment from our Board of Commissioners that school nurses and other staff will be funded in future budgets. Please share with the public the dollar amount the school district's fund balance should be and why. Public education is expensive, but all the money is well spent. Our public schools should be celebrated and supported like our parks, our hospital, and our community college. Please do all that you can to ensure our students, teachers, and families are properly supported. Please make sure the public is educated about the voting changes. Please use your position to encourage Senator Perry, Representative Carnes, and Representative Tyson to make sure the state budget funds all of our needs, because the less Raleigh funds, the more you have to fund, and our schools and a community need more funding. So thank you.
Thank you.
And the next person is Jamisha Harris.
Good evening.
Good evening, County Commissioners. I want to bring attention to the importance of supporting schools. Jamisha Harris, 222 Monterey Circle, Newburgh, North Carolina. I want to bring attention to the importance of schools, of supporting schools that are struggling academically. Specifically, we need to discuss the allocation of funding to a low-performing school in our county. Education is a fundamental pillar of any community's success and progress. However, some schools do not have equal opportunities to provide high-quality education to their students, leading to underperformance. This school in question has been struggling to maintain acceptable levels of academic achievement for years. Despite the hard work and dedication of its staff and students, it remains among the lowest performing schools in our county. Investing in struggling schools not only benefits the students but also the community as a whole. Education is the foundation of a strong economy, and by providing the necessary resources to this school, we can create a more productive workforce and higher levels of education and expertise. I urge you all to consider the importance of education and how this funding can directly impact the lives of these students. Let us work together to give a fair chance of success to this school, to this community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item is the petition, well, hold on. We need a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Is there anyone else that did not sign up that would like to speak in the public hearing? All right, do I have a motion that we go out of public hearing? We got a motion, do I have a second? Any further discussion on the motion? Hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're back to our item 2, petition of citizens for agenda topics. Mr. Vice Chair?
None.
All right, we have none. Is anyone present that wanted to sign up for agenda topics that did not? Okay. All right, we'll go to item 3, which is the consent agenda. Commissioners, you have before you the minutes of the May 15th, 2023 regular session, minutes of the May 15th, 2023 reconvened session, minutes of May 16th, 2023 reconvened session, and the minutes of the May 17th, 2023 reconvened session. If tax releases, you have a health summer internship budget amendment, recreation Special Olympics bench donation budget amendment. On the finance, you have a medical examiner budget amendment. Finance, you have a JCPC additional state funding awarded to the Area Day program, and then the military service person of the quarter resolution. Are there any items that you desire to pull from the consent agenda this evening?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda? I will just state for the record, I talked to Commissioner Howard. Did you want to present the military service person of the quarter, or do you want Commissioner Hunt to do it?
Oh, I said I would discuss it with her, and then we could both. do it.
Okay,
She's-
so hearing nothing, no objection from the commissioners, one or the other will do it,
Okay.
okay? All right, any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we do have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes, thank you. All right, item 4, Crime Stoppers presentation. We have this evening with us Corporal Cox and Brian Harms for the Crime Stoppers Board. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Brent Harms. I am a resident of New Bern, and I work in New Bern. I work for a management company. We manage hotels and a restaurant here. I, like everyone else, am concerned about crime and how I can be involved. And so I joined as a member of the Craven County Crime Stoppers. We're an independent 501c3 nonprofit corporation. We're not supported by tax dollars, but we raise money like every other charitable organization, do it through individual corporate donations, grants, and fundraisers. Crime Stoppers programs have assisted law enforcement in solving about 15,000 homicides since 1976. That's around 315 homicides a year solved through anonymous tips generated by Crime Stoppers programs. Since its inception in 1976, there have been 812,105 arrests made, almost 15,000 homicides solved, over 1 million cases cleared. We've paid out in rewards over almost $118 million. Property recovered over $1 billion, $1.26 billion in property recovered, almost $3 billion in drugs seized, and a total recovery of $4.2 billion. And so I'm proud to be a part of the program, and I'm really just here tonight to introduce the driving force of our Craven County Crime Stoppers, Corporal Kelly Cox from the Craven County Sheriff's Department.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. And remember, at Crime Stoppers, we only want your information, not your name. So if you've heard that before, you know it's directly related to a Crime Stoppers program. Again, my name's Kelly Cox. I'm a corporal with the Craven County Sheriff's Office. I'm relatively new to the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Hughes hired me back in November of '22, so I'm working on my 7th month. Like I said, before that, I was with the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. I was a lieutenant where I oversaw the Patrol Division, SRO program, and the bailiff corps. So I had about 45 deputies that worked underneath me. So this has been a big change for me. I have no regrets. Everybody in Craven County has been more than welcoming, you know, through the chamber, through the county governments I met with, and along with the police chiefs. So, but the last 8 years when I was at Beaufort County, I was the Crime Stoppers coordinator. I took over when Sheriff Allen Jordan and Sheriff Coleman had the program, and I guess I was the last one standing in the room when they were handing the assignment out, and so that's how I got it. It wasn't because, you know, it was any experience or anything like that. They're just like, you're just talking into a TV. How hard could it be? Well, it's a little harder than what you think. So, that being said, I'm also executive board member with the North Carolina State Crime Stoppers Association, and when Sheriff Hughes hired me in, he was starting his 2nd term, and where he was really trying to get the Crime Stoppers program off the ground. A little bit of research I had done was there was a program under the previous administrations, but for some reason it just fizzled out. And that being said, so part of my deal was going meeting with all the police chiefs, you know, New Bern, Riverbend, Trent Woods, Vanceboro, Bridgeton, and Havelock, and explaining to them what the program is. And something that Sheriff Hughes was really big on was wanting to make sure that I may be the lead coordinator, but everybody's going to have the same access to the funds when it comes to the tip money. I'm not sure how it worked out in the past, but just hearing different stories, it didn't seem to be the case. So the biggest thing with Crime Stoppers is transparency. And that's the importance of when I was explaining to Sheriff Hughes about having a civilian board. You know, I report to them monthly. You know, I tell them about what cases that we're working on tips with. I talk to them about, you know, tip amounts, what we should pay out and everything like that. But I don't see any of the money. I don't touch the money. People can donate, give me a check, but then I give it to our treasurer and stuff. So it really benefits the smaller agencies that may not have access or resources like, you know, New Bern PD, the Sheriff's Office, or Havelock. Once again, I report to the civilian board, which I'll explain that is separate from law enforcement. I'll explain that later. Crime Stoppers have played key roles in solving crimes from petty larceny, sexual assault, missing children, to homicide. And the fact of the matter is, good people see bad things that happen all the time. But in a lot of ways, they don't want to get involved. They're, you know, in fear of retaliation or being called to court and getting on the stand and stuff. So Crime Stoppers is kind of negated that way where it makes them free and clear of having to do that. There are currently 78 programs active in North Carolina with 22 more that have tip line capabilities. Typically, the coordinators are from the Sheriff's Office just because we are the chief law enforcement agency within the county. So a little bit of history and breakdown of Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers began in Albuquerque, New Mexico out of tragedy in July of 1976. Michael Carmen was fatally shot when he was working at a local gas station. After 2 weeks, the police had not seen or was able to gather any information. Detective McAleese approached a local TV station and requested to film a reconstruction from the crime. When the reenactment was aired, they offered $1,000, which was huge back in 1976. And within 72 hours, they had a male calling in identifying the car, leading to the arrest of the killer. What he learned was that most people had fear and apathy, often preventing them from getting involved. Detective McAleese helped design a system by which the public could anonymously provide details of the events. The system focused on stimulating community involvement and participation and took advantage of electronic media to publicize unsolved crimes. The police and sheriff's offices offered cash rewards for information leading to an arrest or a conviction. Since the first chapter was officially formed in Albuquerque in 1976, the United States has been responsible for more than $500,000 assets and more than $4 billion in recovered property. You can also find Crime Stoppers now in Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia. So the program has been a success because it does work. Some of the board and coordinator responsibilities. The board should be comprised of community members within Craven County, include directors from private business. No active sworn law enforcement members should be on the board because it can cause a conflict of interest. You know, Part of my job is charged with soliciting, receiving, dissemination, and the follow-up of information regarding criminal investigations conducted by law enforcement. The board is also responsible for soliciting, receiving document funds for the rewards and the approval of payouts for these awards and tipsters. Once again, my role as a coordinator is not to have anything to do with actually paying anything out. I report to we meet monthly. We meet the first Thursday of the month. I report to the board each month with progress related on tips. During an active investigation, I won't get into the real specifics of active cases, but just in case, just that the case is still being followed up on. When the tip leads to an arrest, a person of interest, missing person, et cetera, the coordinator will report to the board and provide information that will be through an accurate and include recommended reward money based on the history and nature of the crime. Fundraising, the board is responsible for raising money and ensuring that all money raised goes into the reward fund. We don't use it for anything else. The board should also have sole responsibility for paying these rewards out and determine the best way to facilitate it. The coordinator should never be responsible for signing off or paying out the tip personally. Once again, it's all about transparency. It's all about checks and balances. A key role of the board member is also to communicate with the sheriff and the police chiefs and to talk about the importance of the coordinator to the success of the program. I often word from the board members is all the information administrators have and the sheriff's office or police departments in determining the value of the position performance of the coordinator. Another thing that we did when I took over in Beaufort County was I had all the board members sign the NDA, non-disclosure agreement, just because some of the cases that we talk about, you know, they are going to get a little more information than John Q. Public. I feel that, you know, they know they're not going to talk about the crime. They know they're not going to talk about the names and everything like that, but it's just another case for the public that we are building that trust between the public and when they call in a tip and everything like that. We just felt like it was the right thing to do. There's another thing when I was in Beaufort County, we weren't, on the patrol division, we were not allowed to develop criminal informants or CIs. It was only available to our narcotics unit and our criminal investigation division. But what I did was kind of, not that I always like to try to push the boundary, but, you know, you deal with a lot of the same people when you're on the road. So a lot of times, you know, I'd be dealing with the same guy, and he always gave me good information. Well, I couldn't really list him as a CI or anything like that for when I went to court and everything, but what I could do was give him money for, like, you know, for exchange for information, but I would tell him to call Crime Stoppers and tell him what you had, and then he would, in return, you know, give the information, he would get the code, we'd follow up on it, and it would work out that way. Another thing that we did that we had a lot of success with, I do the Crime of the Week on WITN. I had a partnership with them all the way stemming back from 2013-14 when I went along with it. So when I was making a career change from the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office to Sheriff Hughes' office, they were really great to deal with. You know, they pull in strong Nielsen ratings and everything like that. So they've been fantastic to work with. Another thing that we do are also PSAs, public service announcements, on behalf of the Sheriff's Office and the New Bern PD and all the other agencies as well. Matter of fact, we just did one for Craven County Schools in regards to the upcoming 2023 graduation, about graduation etiquette and everything like that. So just alone between the Sheriff's Office Facebook page, we have over 33,000 followers. New Bern PD has 16,000, and then Craven County Schools has roughly another 17,000. So social media is still the way of the future, and that's how we get a lot of our information out. Another big supporter, we have New Bern Live. They're really good about sharing our stuff, along with the Bridge FM. It's a Christian music radio station, 94.5 and 104.5 by Johnny Jones, and they've really been good about getting the word out there as well. So right now, the telephone number we use is 252-633-5141. Right now, we're still having to crawl before we walk, and we're going to have to walk before we run, because basically everything revolves around money. So right now, we've had a lot of generous donors. We've probably collected roughly about $7,000 to $8,000. City of New Bern just donated us $1,000. So I mean, I'm not holding my hand out yet, but the county. I mean, I know y'all are good for two, right? No, maybe bad time with the budget, but anyways, so there is a lot of support, because what you have with people you know, they want to feel safe in the community. They want to feel like when they go out, you know, in the country of Craven County or downtown New Bern, that they can walk the streets and everything like that, that they're going to be safe. And I think we do a good job, all the law enforcement agencies that are involved in doing that. But, you know, bad things are still going to happen. Whenever you have a concentration of a population of people, it's going to happen regardless. The one thing that we are working on is our new P3 program. 85% of the Crime Stoppers program actually operate off of it. The good thing about it is that you can submit the tip anonymously by phone, mobile app, desktop, or mobile browser. Also, another thing is we can actually do real-time chatting back and forth. So if somebody says, I see John Smith on the corner of Craven and Middle, you know, we're going to be able to actually talk with that person until we get a deputy or an officer over that way to check it out. So that's going to be huge in the future. It's, right now, the price of it is $1,800 a year. So what we're actually trying to do, talking with the board, we're going to actually, you know, try to make it a sponsorship to see if a business or a private person wants to try to, you know, donate that or support it. Once again, partnership with the board and law enforcement is huge. You know, if law enforcement is not an active participating member in the stuff, it's just not going to work. You know, the board can raise all the money that they want to, but if you don't have, you know, agencies like the sheriff's office and your police departments and everything like that, we're just raising money for no reason and everything. So that was really one thing too with Sheriff Hughes, you know, getting the information out and just making sure that, you know, if Vanceboro, for example, they're an extremely small agency, but if they have something they need to get out, well, they're going to have, once again, the same access to that reward money as, you know, the sheriff's office and New Bern PD, again, because more or less I'm just a spokesman in a lot of ways and stuff. We're still very active on social media. If y'all haven't liked or followed our page, you know, you can go to Craven County Crime Stoppers on that. You know, we're on Instagram, like I said, and Facebook. And again, we're also on WITN. That's another way to follow the crime of the week. Typically, they air on the weekend, and then I'll share it the first of the week or whatnot to kind of give WITN that first foot traffic and everything. Once again, our goal is the same as, you know, Sheriff, you hear him say it all the time. We're trying to make Craven County a safer place to live, work, and raise a family. And I believe that's the goal of every law enforcement agency within Craven County. And, you know, I used to tell people all the time, whether I was with Beaufort County or with where I'm at now in Craven County, if it's a crime that affects Craven County, then it's a Craven County crime. You know, one thing that I'm proud to say with this office, especially with Sheriff Hughes and his command staff, that, you know, a lot of crime can originate outside Craven County. Well, good thing with our cars, we can go way outside Craven County to follow, to check them out, especially with our Special Investigations Bureau with or drug units. Y'all would probably know it better and stuff. So the thing behind it is, you know, our heart's in the right place. The members of the board's hearts are in the right place. You know, they're giving up their time. You know, a small portion of my salary in special operations is dedicated to Crime Stoppers. But people like Brendan Harms, and all, they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They're not getting paid with it. They're actually on a lot of other boards, to be honest with you. So the fact that we have gotten to where we have gotten in such a short period of time, I'm extremely pleased and everything. Once again, in closing, I just want to tell the board, you know, one thing I did do once I knew I was going to make the transition to Craven was I watched y'all's videos a lot online. You know, I watched Commissioner Hunt's town hall meetings, Commissioner Howard's town hall meeting and everything like that. So you get answered to tough questions and you're honest with them too. Another thing too is that y'all are able to have decorum here together as a group. You know, you may not agree on everything, but y'all are professional. And if you ever need some must-see TV, just watch some of the Beaufort County Commissioner meetings and whatnot, and you'll realize your problems ain't so big, you know. So, but once again, I'll open up to you if y'all have any questions. You know, I know I just threw a lot of information out there, and I know you have a lot to do on the agenda.
Any questions from the board?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm very pleased to have this program going in Craven County. I think it's going to be very beneficial, and I especially like hearing the fact that you're working with our municipalities so closely. I truly believe whatever is good for our municipalities, regardless of their size, is good for Craven County, and that's especially true when it comes to Crime Stoppers. Yeah, so any crime, whether it's in a city or not, affects all of us.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Any additional questions? Sheriff Hughes, you're here, sir. You want to come up and make a few comments?
I think the corporal's covered it all. But
this is just the caliber of people that we look to bring on board. I thank y'all for the budget. It's a solid budget. It's very good to public safety, and we appreciate that, especially in regards to school safety. Y'all addressing the needs that we're having immediately in Havelock and helping with that. This is a great program. When we came in, it was nearly inexistent. It didn't exist. The corporate has done a phenomenal job of taking this thing. The board, I can't thank each member enough for what y'all do. And it's making a huge difference as calls come in every day now. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate both of you being here and for your presentation.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chair Booker.
while we're on this subject, I'd like to make a motion that we also give $1,000 to Crime Stoppers in our current budget that we're finishing up.
Okay, we have a motion for $1,000 to put into the budget. I have a second. Any discussion? Hear none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mark,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you again for being here. All right, departmental matters. Item 5 is the Economic Development Resolution for the North Carolina Commerce Infrastructure Development Fund. Mr. Jeff Wood, good evening, sir.
Evening, Chairman. Evening, Commissioners. The department has been working with Coastal Carolina Regional Airport to obtain funds to build out the commercial aerospace development area of the airport. The authority's already successfully won a Golden Leaf grant of almost $750 million to put in the water and the sewer. The department is requesting the board to approve a resolution to authorize the department to apply for an NC Department Commerce grant through the Infrastructure Development Funds. The grant requires a match, which we've talked about in the airport authority meetings of the funds coming from the airport. Very exciting project that we're working on over at the airport. This will open up. We have a total of 115 acres. 90 of it needs this road and infrastructure. This money will go towards the road itself. Open up 90 acres right along the runway, which would give us valuable aerospace development product that we need. As you all know, we're successfully running out of property at the industrial park. We have 50 acres left, and we'll be bringing some news about that later on this year. So this is a critical juncture for us as we look for new property. So at that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Okay, we have a motion, and I have a second to approve the resolution and authorize the department to apply for the grant. Any further discussion on the motion? Hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, item 6, solid waste, award of the debris removal contract and debris monitoring contract. Stephen Astor. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board. Thanks for having me tonight. Stephen Astor, Craven County Solid Waste Director, coming to you tonight for the award of debris removal contract and debris monitoring contracts. As part of a disaster preparedness, Craven County holds pre-positioned primary and secondary contracts for debris removal and debris monitoring. Both functions are typically reimbursable by FEMA for federally declared events. On July 18, 2022, the Craven County Board of Commissioners awarded Phillips & Jordan Incorporated and Crowder Gulf LLC the final one-year contract that was awarded after Hurricane Florence in 2018. Additionally, the Craven County Board of Commissioners awarded Tetra Tech Incorporated a one-year renewal for debris monitoring contract. In April 2023, the Craven County staff issued a request for proposals in a disaster debris removal and clearances services and a request for qualifications for the disaster debris monitoring services. Both solicitations were due by the first week in May in 2023. Craven County received 7 responses for debris removal and 2 responses for the debris monitoring services. An evaluation committee of experienced Craven County staff was convened and reviewed all of the responses and developed a scoring and rating matrix. The rating sheet are included in your attachments. It was determined that one debris removal company was non-responsive due to required elements that were not included into the bid. It is the recommendation of staff and the primary and secondary contractor be selected for each activity. Additionally, it is recommended that each initial contract be for a 30-month term with 2 one-year renewal periods. This will allow the county to have a more favorable contract renewal period in the future. Each contract will also include provisions that any local government or other governmental entities within Craven County can utilize these contracts through a CPA, a cooperative purchasing agreement. For debris removal and clearances, the committee recommends that Ceres Environmental be awarded as a primary contractor and Phillips and Jordan Incorporated as a secondary contractor as shown in the following documents that are attached in your documents. For debris monitoring, the committee recommends that Tetra Tech Incorporated be awarded the primary contractor and Thompson Consulting Services be awarded the secondary contractor as shown in your attachments. Staff is available for any questions that you may have.
All right, questions from the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. There's board action for two items. You heard Mr. Astor just stated. It is for the debris removal and clearance services and also for the disaster debris monitoring services. And you have those companies who won the contract there. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you. Item 7, Finance, Mr. Craig Warren. We have two items. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board. Have two items on the agenda for you tonight, two budget amendments. The first one is for the occupancy taxes. The occupancy taxes collected countywide for the current year are running approximately 7.6% ahead of last year's collections, are expected to exceed our original budget estimates. As a result of the increased collections, the portion of the occupancy taxes that are collected by the county and then remitted to the Tourism Development Authority will also exceed our original budget estimates. It is estimated that an additional $75,000 will be needed in order to continue collecting and remitting the TDA's portion through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Warren?
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $75,000. Any further discussion on the motion?
Discussion or question?
Yes.
Just clarification, Craig. We collected 75,000 more than anticipated?
Yes, sir.
And
It's expected that will.
contractually, that has to go back to TDA. We can't give it back to taxpayers?
Yes, so there's a 6% occupancy tax that's levied, and there's an allocation that's split.
We have to
So
follow
these
that.
funds will, they'll be going to the TDA, but it's statutory based calculation.
I just wanted that clarification, because Jason had already told me that, but just for folks that are listening.
Okay, any additional questions from the board? All right, here no further discussion. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes, thank you. All right, and item
The
2.
second one is for our rescue squads. Our ambulance service fees billed and collected by the county on behalf of the following squads are anticipated to exceed our original budget projections. It is estimated that an additional $95,000 will be needed in order to continue remitting the squad payments through the end of the fiscal year. The projected increases to revenue estimates by squad are $6,000 estimated for New Bern Craven County Rescue, $4,000 for Fort Barnwell, $17,000 for Bridgeton Rescue, $56,000 for Vanceboro Rescue, and $12,000 for Township 7. The attached budget amendment reflects the projected increases for each squad, along with the corresponding expenditures.
All right, any questions for Mr. Warren?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $95,000. Is there any discussion, questions? Hear none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes, thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
All right, item 8, Commissioners, is the appointments. We have pending, current, and upcoming. First, for pending, you have a list there. Are there any nominations for any of these from any commissioner? All right, not hearing none, we will go to current. The first would be the Craven County Planning Board. We have an applicant of Mr. Mark Best for District 3, Commissioner Smith.
I recommend that we accept that recommendation.
Okay, we have the nomination of Mr. Mark Best. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Hearing none, we will accept Mr. Best by acclamation. I'm going to skip over the Airport Authority, let's go to the Craven County ABC Board. We have two appointments there. The first is Mr. Kenneth Morris. He served 2 years. He seeks reappointment. What's the nominations from the board?
I would
Make the
recommend.
motion, we nominate Mr. Morris.
Okay, we have a nomination of Mr. Kenneth Morris. Are there additional nominations from
I recommend we nominate Mr. Dred Mitchell.
That would be for the next.
Okay, Ms. B, could you do that one for the next? Because that will going to be an open seat, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
All right.
Okay. Are there additional nominations for Mr. Morris's seat? Hearing none, we will set Mr. Morris by acclamation. All right, the next, we have Ms. Creighton, who has served 12 years per our bylaws that we have, which we've been consistent with. We have seek additional applicants for positions, and we've been doing that with a number, just so everybody knows, we've been doing that with a number of boards. You have 9 applications in your agenda packet. Are there nominations? Commissioner Smith, you had one of Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay, we have a nomination of Dred Mitchell. Are there additional nominations from the floor? All right, here no additional nominations from the floor. We will set Mr. Mitchell by acclamation. Next would be the Fire Tax Commissioner. We have the applicant of Ron Pound, who seeks to fill the vacant seat left by Mr. Carl Bark. You have that application and letter in your agenda packet. What's the desire of the board? I would make that recommendation, a nomination or additional nominations from the floor for Mr. Pound. All right, here none, we will set by acclamation. Next would be the New Bern Board of Adjustment. You have Ms. Sandra Gray, who was appointed in 2020, yes. She seeks reappointment. What's the desire of the board?
I recommend we accept
Okay.
Sandra Gray.
We have the nomination of Ms. Gray. Are there additional nominations from the board? Here none, we will set Ms. Gray by acclamation. Next, you have the Havelock Planning Board, Alfred Gray, who was appointed in 2019. Commissioner Howard, Commissioner Hunt, what's y'all's desire?
I recommend we nominate him for reappointment.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay, we have a nomination of Mr. Gray. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Here none, we will set by acclamation. Then you have the appointment of the NACO voting delegate. County Manager?
Yes, sir. Based on the registration, the only eligible commissioner would be Commissioner Hunt.
Okay. Commissioner Hunt plans to attend. Do I have a nomination for Ms. Hunt?
So moved.
Okay, we have the nomination for Ms. Hunt. She will be accepted since she's the only one going, so we thank you for that, Commissioner Hunt. All right, I'm going to turn over the Airport Authority appointments over to the Vice Chair, since my name is on here. So, Vice Chair Booker.
Okay, Coastal Carolina Regional Airport Authority has 3 seats that are up for appointment. The first one is George Liner. He was appointed in 2020, and he seeks reappointment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve him again.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Liner will be approved by affirmation. The second one is Jason Jones. He was also appointed in 2020. He seeks reappointment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Reappoint.
Second.
Okay, any others? Okay, we will, Mr. Jones will be appointed by affirmation. And the third one is Kelly Hawkins Kaiser. She was appointed in 2020. She does not seek reappointment.
Mr. Chairman, there are 7 applicants on file. I would nominate Mr. Mark Eckhart.
Okay, Mr. Mark Eckert has been nominated. Are there any others?
I would like to nominate Alderman and Lieutenant Colonel Bob Brunson.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we have 2 people nominated, Mark Eckert and Bob Brinson. Would you please call the roll?
When I call the roll, then you need to state the candidate that you're voting for. Commissioner Hunt,
Mark Eckert.
Commissioner Mark,
Mark Eckert.
Commissioner Mitchell, Bob Brunson. Commissioner Smith,
Mark Eckert.
Commissioner Howard,
Mark Eckert.
Vice Chairman Booker,
Mark Eckert.
and Chairman Jones.
Mark Eckert.
Okay, Mr. Eckert would be appointed by will be appointed by a vote, so that takes care of Coastal Carolina Regional Airport, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, that takes care of all the current that we have on file, Commissioners. Anyone remember anything else? All right, hearing none, we will have the upcoming terms expiring in July. You see those in your agenda packets. Please take note of that. Anything else to bring on the appointments?
I just
Commissioner
wanted to
Howard?
can I make a comment?
Yes.
My comment is that we had a lot of good applicants, especially for our ABC board and also for our airport authority. And I understand that Mr. Eckert had been 4 years ago an application. It's pretty amazing that, number one, he remembered, and number two, that then he also remembered to contact him when this came up. And so he's been waiting a long time and has a lot of experience. So it's interesting to see really good candidates for positions. And we certainly have a lot of other spots that are still open on other boards. So I would encourage the public to look at some of these boards and consider applying to some of them.
Thank you. Any additional comments? All right, thank you. County Attorney's Report, Mr. Grady.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I have 2 items for your consideration this evening. Both involve county-owned real estate acquired through the tax foreclosure process. The first item and first parcel is located over in the James City community with a parcel number of 7006-083. It does not really have an assigned street address. We have received an offer in the amount of $5,500. Again, it was acquired through the tax foreclosure process. The original unpaid taxes and the cost of foreclosure together were $4,928.87. The tax value on this property is $9,800. Before you today, we have a resolution which would approve an initial offer to purchase. If the board chooses to move forward, it would be back before the board after an upset bid period for final action.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Vice Chair Bucher.
Yes, I don't believe it's in the, my motion, and can I make a motion after that motion?
You've actually got a motion on the floor, so we need to either
I'll
withdraw
allow
that.
him to make the motion.
You said what now, Tom?
I'll allow him to make the motion.
So you're withdrawing your motion? All right, and who made the second?
I did, I'll withdraw my second.
Okay, we have withdrawal. Okay, Vice Chair Booker.
Yeah, my motion would be that we do not sell this property. I do not believe it's in the best interest of the county to do so. At some point, maybe we will, but I believe at this time it is our best interest to hold on to this property.
Okay, we have a motion not to sell parcel number 7-006-083.
I second that motion.
We have a second to the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. The second item is actually a parcel that is owned jointly with the city of New Bern. As the board is aware, we let the city, quote unquote, go first when a bid is received, and the city has given initial approval for the sale of this property, which is located on Lees Avenue with a parcel ID number of 8006173. This is actually the final approval after the upset bid process. The bid amount was $2,000. There were no upset bids. The original unpaid taxes and the cost of foreclosure together were $2,796.90. The tax value is $4,000. Again, the city of New Bern has already given its approval, and it is before this board for final approval, which we do recommend. And if given, we'll sign the deed and get it back on the tax rolls.
What's the desire of the board?
So moved.
We have a motion. I have a second to sell parcel number 8-006-173. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. We
sir.
appreciate it. All right, item 10, we have the petition of citizens for general topics. Again, for petition of citizens, we just ask when you come to the podium, if you will, to state your name and your address. And also, we do have a time limit of 3 minutes for this. And so I'll turn it over to the vice chair.
Okay, the first person is Joshua Core.
Good evening.
Good evening, Board. I come to you tonight just to talk to you about a little bit about the library. And thank you for your time, by the way. As a commissioner in Havelock, I understand that when a lot of people petition, a lot of times they come to you with an aggressive tone and trying to get you to do this or that. Basically, I'm just going to try to provide you some solutions to a problem that's ongoing. There are a lot of books, this has been provided to your clerk, that are in your library right now, that are in the young adult section and in the children's section, that is honestly just inappropriate for young adults and children to read. There is a section also provided in this packet, goes through state law and what it is, and I do believe it is prohibited by state law for these things to be available for children. So all I'm basically asking is, can the board pursue some sort of policy to address this issue? I don't know how we got here, and I'm not going to sit here and go through the history of anything because I don't know how we got here. But I do know that you guys have the expertise to be able to find a solution for this. It's not something that's appropriate for our children to be going through. To be clear, the stuff included in this packet was the most PG version of these things. Some of these things go a lot worse than this. So if you would please, I don't know who authority is over this, but if you would please look into it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Second person is Isabel Goldvarg. I pronounce that right?
Honorable Commissioners and people of Craven County.
If you would please state your name, please.
My name is Isabel Goldvar, and I need to tell where I live to, 113 Freeburg Road. I am here as a concerned citizen, as a mother, and also as president of the local office of the North Carolina Hispanic Assembly. I represent about 8,000 voters. It has come to our attention that later this month, an adult performance will occur in the convention center. This show will include sexual dancing, and will start a drag performance. Such a performance should not be permitted in a taxpayer-funded building. This is especially true since the same event will include a family-friendly pride market. They have even invited the trans advocate Dylan Mulvaney of Bud Light fame, who is known by targeting your children with his sexual performances. I ask you to help us in stopping this event that promote obscenity in accordance with North Carolina Statute for North Carolina 14190. Please help us to stop the over-sexualizing of our children and prevent the grooming of our children by grown adults. Let children be children and keep the family-oriented of our culture of our county. This is just some of the stuff that is online. There's more. You guys can go. I don't know who I can leave.
If you will, please give it with the clerk.
But thank you.
Thank you.
We can't ask questions, can we?
Okay, the next person, I'm having a little trouble reading this, but it looks like Emmanuel Ruiz?
Yes, sir.
Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Right on the money. Good evening, board. My name is Emmanuel Ruiz. I live at 723 Lake Tyler Drive here in New Bern. I am Director of Communications for the RNHA, the same organization this lady is the chapter secretary of, and serve as the chapter secretary myself, representing over 1 million Latinos in our state. As you can see, there's a bit of an issue in this county. When assembling the handouts that you'll be given out later, we gave you the most PG version. Believe me, my computer has worse stuff on it from what I've had to Google search to give you this handout. This is the weaker stuff, and this is what's given to our children. If you look at the handout later on, you will see that most of the content is in the young adult section. Young adult is defined by Google itself as targeting ages 12 to 18. They are targeting our youngest demographic of teenagers especially, as that's a time of most radical change, both mentally and physically for our children. We remind you that this convention center is a public building. We're not here to shut down the entire event at all. We are here just to add a new regulation to stop certain adult performances. We're also here to remind you about the current library situation, that an immediate solution can be found, and I even volunteer myself to help solve this issue in any way the board would find appropriate. As such, we're here to give you not only complaints, but solutions. Our solution when it comes to the library is simply removal, or reclassification of these books as adult material. When it comes to the performance later on this month, our proposed solution is the allowing of the Pride Market to continue as planned, but a new restriction to be put on the Riverfront Convention Center that would specify that no adult performance, as following North Carolina general statute, would be allowed in any public building. Those are proposed solutions. More information is given in the packets describing what is going on, specifically both with our school, not the schools, pardon, the library and the convention center, and also the necessary statute is also quoted there with highlights, giving you all the information you need. We are here to help you out. The RNHA is not here just to annoy you guys, but we're here to help you out as an auxiliary. We hope to become friends with you all, and in any way we can help you out, not only in these issues, but in future issues relating to the Hispanic community. We here are happy to help you all. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Lauren Carver.
Again, for the record, Lauren Carver, Project North Carolina, 200 North Williams Street, Suite 893 in Goldsboro, North Carolina. One of the things that we wanted to come here on this end of this meeting to discuss is solutions for the problems that we have brought forth to you and others have for many years regarding the animal shelter. As I mentioned earlier, we do want to see a successful program there. We want to see happier citizens regarding the way that animals are handled at the shelter, as well as reducing euthanasia rates. That is our #1 goal. To start doing that, though, we had to talk about the truth. We had to talk about the truth that was going on, the issues that were going on, and make those publicly known to the public so that they are aware of those problems so that we can all discuss solutions together. One of the things that we wanted to offer as a solution is to take advantage of that surgical room and look into the state spay and neuter program. Again, we saw an average decrease in euthanasia within the first year of that program, up to 52%. On average, counties are reimbursed 50 to 70% on the cost of surgical procedures. That would benefit this county greatly. It would also offer citizens the opportunity for low-cost spay and neuter solutions. We don't ever want to see another situation where an entire animal control team puts in their notice with reasons listed that this board is not listening to the public and not listening to those working in the field regarding animal welfare. We don't want to ever see that again. We want to see that be prevented. We want to see whatever team is being currently hired and vetted by the sheriff's office stay in those positions and have longevity within their job and enjoy their job and be in a program that is successful. Although the financial issues regarding the health department are not this board's fault, it is still this board's responsibility to make sure the director of that department is running an efficient, proper department, and that any monies gained by that department are being properly documented and properly discussed as to what they're being used for. We believe that working on resolving this issue can lead to a better operated health department and animal services program. We definitely want to see solutions. I think the people are ready to move forward with a plan and with a solution, and we would like to move forward with that if this board would allow it. We are currently trying to get more information, possibly a presentation available to provide the animal shelter to present to you regarding the state spay and neuter program. We do want to help them present that to this board, and we are hopeful that we can reach out to them and build that relationship. At this point, you know, there's not much we can do to change the past, but we can change how we go moving forward in this county. And I think that that would be beneficial for the shelter, its employees, the animals, and the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Tyker Gonzalez.
Good evening.
Good evening. Tyker Gonzalez, 125 Turkey Quarter Creek Road should be burned into your brain. In biblical times, a shepherd was the one in charge of the flocks. They guarded each and every animal with their own life. David was a shepherd. It was through his days of protecting his flocks that prepared him and taught him how to later slay Goliath. Because he was trusted wholly with the flocks, God trusted him with people. Think about that. Luke 16:10 tells us those who cannot be trusted with little cannot be trusted with much. Over 70 times in the Bible, shepherds are mentioned. They're either referred to as good and trustworthy or those who are not. Shepherds were considered the lowest of the low. They were scum, worthless, repulsive to the rest of the populations, not even allowed to testify in a court of law. Yet in the New Testament, Jesus refers to himself as the Good Shepherd. In fact, his parables refer to shepherds many times. In one of his parables, he mentions, "Who would not leave the 99 to find the one which is lost?" To whom was it first announced that the Savior was born? The shepherds, the outcast and smelly ones, the ones that had to be trusted with so little. They were the ones that would serve God's purpose. Keep in mind that there are ones among us that are disguised as both shepherds and sheep that are not. They are ravenous wolves. If a shepherd doesn't care about a lost one, you had better turn to the good shepherd who said, "My sheep know my voice." That's from Jesus. Stewardship is another main biblical principle. We are charged from the very beginning in Genesis to be good stewards of what we've been given. While we cannot be responsible for others' irresponsibility, we should, in the least, take full responsibility for everything that comes into our care. We will be held accountable, as it is by our actions and also the lack thereof that proves our fruit. This test had always helped me discern the good shepherds from the bad. It's a pathetic thing when we lose thousands of animals in our possession. Worse, when they have been misrepresented as alive, although they are dead. I mean, they're just animals, right? What does it matter? We ignore and destroy surplus populations, both animal and human, every single day. But it all started somewhere, and the moment we began accepting it as if it were nothing, we became lost. What has happened to us as a society did not happen overnight. It has been a slow, methodical fading of values, morality, and righteousness, all in the name of self-preservation, or what some call politics and political maneuvering. Even the fact that the county attorney now prays before these commission meetings, most of the time admitting Jesus' name, speaks volumes. We are not passing the test of the word. Sadly, instead, our little county has joined the world. I had no idea you guys were coming tonight, but I thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like Linda Heel. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that right.
You pronounced it correctly.
I'm sorry, it's correct? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Linda Hill. My address is 3111 Monroe Drive, and I'm here in reference to transportation. I know that you have the carts van Monday through Friday, but the problem is that it used to go to the James City and Moorhead corridor. It does not go there anymore. It only goes to Greenville on one day a week, and I had an appointment scheduled, and they canceled that. They didn't have a driver for that particular one. But the thing is, we need transportation 7 days a week, and not just 5 days a week. And we need transportation after 5. And this is something that I would appreciate, if you would consider, because the population in New Bern is getting older. A lot of people is not driving, and we really need transportation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Woods, Jr.
James O. Woods Jr., 1903 Country Club Road. I'm before the board because I've been trying to find out what happens to tax or tourism dollars for heads on beds. In Onslow and Lenore County, if I was to bring a convention there, they would help me with that convention, i.e. they would pay some of my expenses. I've been told here in Craven County that it's not the same. So what happens to those dollars when I bring a convention in town for heads on beds? Thank you.
Ray Griffin.
God bless you. My name is Ray Griffin, 1901 Street Ferry Road, Vanceboro, North Carolina. I'd just like to talk a minute about Memorial Day, and we're coming along 4th of July, and there's a lot going on in this nation, and I've run across this, and of course you've probably seen it before, but to dedicate our people that have gone on in service before us. On the wall, at Vietnam Wall says, more than just a name on the wall. I saw her from a distance as she walked up to the wall. In her hand, she held some flowers as tears began to fall. And she took out a pen and papers as to trace his memories. And she looked up to heaven, and the words she said was these. She said, Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me. Oh, I'd love to see him just one more time, you see. And all I have are the memories to recall. So, Lord, could you tell him he's more than just a name on the wall? She said he really missed the family and being home on Christmas Day, and he died for God and country in a place so far away. I remember just a little boy playing war since he was 3, but this time I know he's not coming home to me. And she said, Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me. Oh, I'd love to see him, but I know it just can't be. So thank you, Lord, for my memories, this moment to recall. But Lord, could you tell him he's more than just a name on a wall? And when I read that at church, I almost cried to think that our people have died for us. Who cares for America? It's been estimated that there are 333 or so million people in this country who are definitely and seriously interested in America, her standards, her idols, and her general welfare. About half of these social-minded people are paying the salaries of the other half to work on foundations, commissions, bureaus, welfare organizations, and money for others that are not working. Millions of us today are being used as slaves. We are being counted, studied, and classified, whether we realize it or not. Many of us are wholly unconscious what they are doing to us and for us. Many of these perfecting mind specialists are seeking to cover the present active pain, which is the symptom, which neglected to prescribe for and to treat the cause, which is the disease. Thank God for our people that went on before us, those that are in the military that made a memorial service and a sacrifice in the Vietnam Wall. I'd just like to say we need to pray for America. We are in dire straits, and we have not seen nothing yet. I wish I could say it would get better. But thank God for those that have gone. 4th of July is coming. Remember 4th of July. It's about God, country. It's about the people that went on and founded this great nation. Amen? Pray for America. We need your prayers.
Thank you.
Demisha Harris.
Demisha Harris, 222 Monterey Circle, New Bern, North Carolina. I stand here before you to emphasize the critical importance of protecting our schools and ensuring the right to education for every child. In a world where knowledge is the key to success, we must recognize that safeguarding our educational institutions is not just a matter of policy, but a fundamental duty we owe to our children and future generations. Schools should be safe havens where young minds can flourish, where dreams are nurtured, and where potentials are unleashed. However, the sad reality is that educational institutions have increasingly become targets of violence and political disruption. While politics undoubtedly plays a significant role in shaping our society, I firmly believe that schools should remain neutral spaces, free from the influence of partisan politics. It is in the best interest of our students that education and the pursuit of knowledge that we keep politics out of our schools. Education is an investment in our collective future. By withholding funding from schools, we undermine the very foundation upon which our society is built. Quality education equips our children with the knowledge, skills, and values necessary to become responsible and productive citizens. Cutting funding not only compromises the immediate educational experience, but also weakens the potential of future generations, limiting the ability to contribute positively to our society and hindering our progress as a whole. The task of protecting schools and education cannot be achieved by the efforts of a few. It requires collective commitment from government, you, policymakers, you, educators, I'm sure out here, parents like me, and the community, all of us. Education is not the antidote to ignorance. No, education is not only the antidote to ignorance, but also the foundation upon which peace, tolerance, and social progress can be built. I got a minute. Since I've been sitting here, I haven't been here in a minute since I had to ask for you guys to support the ERA. But since I am here, and I'm a proud member of this community, I really hope, listening to what you said, the individuals were saying, if they purchased and rented out the convention center for Pride Prom, don't disrupt that, because this is the side of a community that needs representation, whether people agree with that community or not. And you don't have to buy a ticket to go. I'm speaking to you guys, but I'm for the public. In regards to the library books and banning books and how people feel about that, again, we really need to have the ability to have everybody at the table to have these conversations where we take emotions out of it and bring logic. I appreciate all the work that you guys do. I know that the job is tireless, and you have everybody coming at you at every different angle, but please, really think about education, think about these schools, think about the teachers, think about the resource. Have a good night.
Thank you.
What is she doing here?
Elena Hebert.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Eleni Hebert at 306 Green Trees Drive in New Bern. I'm here this evening to address you all about the overall demeanor regarding public schools and the school budget that was proposed at the last meeting. The overall attitude towards the superintendent was really disheartening. I understand that there may have been some bad blood between the school board and you commissioners in the past, but children shouldn't pay the price and the consequences of adults who can't seem to see eye to eye. The biggest concern for you all seemed to be consolidating schools. And I do see the case for it because the buildings are aging and need hefty repairs and updates. But a lot of work needs to be done to these buildings, or you need to build new schools before more children can be shoved into these buildings. Brinson, for example, needs new HVAC systems, new fire alarm systems, updated bathrooms, new school furniture, and so much more. You also need to consider that people love their small neighborhood schools. Having their children be able to ride their bikes and walk to school and not have such long bus rides makes a huge difference to families. All of these things are what contribute to making New Bern and Craven County such a charming community and place to live. I don't know if, were any of you at the JT Barber meeting where they had an emergency called meeting about closing the schools? It was full. At least 30 people spoke in support of keeping that school as is, not turning it into the preschool. Closing schools is a very sensitive and emotional subject. And although you feel like you've been waiting for a decision by the school board for a long time, we have had these giant environmental catastrophes in Florence and in COVID. This is the first year that teachers and staff are saying that schools finally feel like they're getting back to normal. So to make more major changes in redistricting and closing schools without major updates to buildings or new schools being built is wildly premature. We live in a beautiful community, and the schools should reflect our community. After all, the children in these schools are who are the future of this community, and they're not a line item on a budget. So please consider these children, the teachers and the staff, and all that they need before cutting funds and pushing to close schools before the buildings are ready to accept a large influx of new students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's all. All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you to each citizen that spoke to the board this evening. We have all taken notes, and staff has also. All right. County Manager's report, Mr. Vite.
Mr. Chairman, two things tonight. First, I just, for the record, want to thank the budget team here on my staff for their hard work. Hearing the comments tonight, working with you guys over the last several weeks. They just do a great job, and I'm really proud of each and every one. They put a lot of effort, particularly in our finance office, in putting this document together. So I just want to thank them for the record. The second thing is just some discussion on where you want to go from here. Obviously, we can prepare the budget ordinance for adoption on June 19th. We can schedule another meeting if you feel like there's things you still need to talk about. We're just looking for direction at this point on how you want to proceed.
All right, commissioners, what's the desire of the board? Do you want another special budget meeting, or do you feel that we can discuss what needs to be discussed at the next scheduled commissioners meeting?
I liked your suggestion from earlier. The tradition was to play it by ear and see what the citizens demanded over the next short span of time. Is that what you said, or I'm misconstruing that?
Well, we waited, most time we wait until this evening. We listened to what folks had to say at the public hearing. You know, there's been time for folks to contact, there's still time.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've heard from different citizens through the past few weeks. So most of the time, we go ahead and make a decision now whether we're going to have an additional budget work session or we're just going to discuss whatever we got discussed at the next scheduled meeting. And we do have to vote on the budget at the next meeting, or you would have to call a special meeting because it has to be done by the end of the month.
Mr. Chairman, I think based on the meeting this afternoon as well as tonight, that we're pretty much in unison on where we're at on the budget, and I see no need for a special meeting to talk about anything else that we can't wrap up on the 19th.
Okay.
Second that motion.
Second, yeah.
Do you want a motion, Jack, or you just
No, sir.
consensus?
Just direction.
Okay, is that the consensus, Commissioner Smith? You okay with that?
It's fine.
Okay, all right. All right.
Mr. Chairman, board, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners' report. Who'd like to go first this evening?
I will.
All right, Commissioner Hunt.
So I've had a wonderful 2 weeks. I attended a Central Regional Trillium Health Board meeting a couple weeks ago, where all the board members were very pleased to learn about their new upcoming value-added resources. For instance, one example is a $120 voucher for its members that want to attain their GED certificate, along with many other benefits, and those benefits will be soon to be offered this coming fall. I also spent a couple days in Raleigh, North Carolina, with other commissioners from all over the state to share knowledge and opportunities about what's working for our different counties. I totally enjoyed that. I also spent some time with some ENC state representatives, Celeste Cairns, Steve Tyson, and Keith Kidwell, along with Senator Phil Berger and Governor Roy Cooper. I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to attend. Finally, I wanted to share what is probably the most meaning to me, and maybe to many of the residents in Craven County. As a member of the world's finest fighting force, the United States Marine Corps, I am more than thrilled and honored to be one of the few to welcome the first F-35 aircraft home to VMFA 542, the beginning of a new era for Craven County that will bring in an additional $1.5 billion of economic impact to Eastern North Carolina. And thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. All right.
I'll go.
Commissioner Mark.
I will be attending a precinct meeting in Fairfield Harbor on the 17th of June, along with Congressman Murphy.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Smith.
I have nothing today.
Okay. Commissioner Howard.
Yeah. I would just like to say, happy to see a revenue-neutral budget. I thank our staff for that. We've added services like additional SROs and Havelock and positions related to Medicaid expansion, but we've been able to maintain revenue neutral in that process. I also like to thank the folks that came in to speak tonight, Manny, Ms. Goldfarb, and everyone else. That was informative, and I look forward to kind of a follow-up with that. Also, the folks speaking on public education, which is obviously an area near and dear to my heart as a public school teacher. So I look to hear more from that, and it is an issue. So, and we're getting nice things like the F-35 squadron here, and that comes with family and children, and parents that look into schools. So we need to make sure that we're living up to the expectations of the military families coming into our communities. So thank you.
All right, Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was also at Cherry Point for the arrival of the F-35s. I serve as the vice chair for Allies for Cherry Point, and Allies for Cherry Point has worked very hard to make sure that we got the F-35s here. So now we have several. We're looking up at 60 or more aircraft. Hopefully that will increase. And this year's North Carolina budget includes an additional $350 million for a build-out of additional facilities at the Global Trans Park to start working on Navy and Marine Corps C-130s, and this will free up space on Cherry Point to continue doing depot-level maintenance on the F-35s. All this means more jobs and more economic prosperity to the eastern North Carolina region. I know we are a veteran-heavy organization. We have several on the board, including me. With it, this is just all good news for a great place to live. And as part of that, Allies for Cherry Point has completed its transformation into a pure 501c3. We will begin efforts this year to raise money and establish scholarship programs at the community college to aid veterans who are transitioning out of Cherry Point, because we want to keep them in this area. They're good citizens, they consider this area home, and we need that workforce. So that will be a major improvement, I think, in Allies for Cherry Point, and involve the community more with those programs. And finally, the second annual North Carolina Defense Summit will be happening in September in Raleigh, the 26th and the 27th of September. This is important. We have defense is the second largest economic sector in the state. This is the only regional association of defense communities on the East Coast. We are highlighting North Carolina. I know the county will participate again as it did last year, so we are putting North Carolina on the map, and we are putting our patriotism on the map with it for all of us, and that's all, sir.
Thank you. Vice Chair Booker.
Yeah, just one thing. This past week, we were fortunate here in Craven County to host the ladies' golf tour of the young women who are striving to get on the LPGA, which is the big tour. There were 144 young women who came in. I say young, I think the oldest, there was one or two that were older, like 40, but most of them were between 20 and 25, maybe a few up around 30. Most of them were just out of college. They were here for 5 days. They practiced on Wednesday. They then had a Pro-Am tournament on Thursday, 3-day tournament, which wrapped up on Sunday. And we talk about economic development. These young women all came in and stayed somewhere, spent money, went to restaurants, and some stayed in private homes, but many in hotels. It was a first ever for our county to have a group of pros come in and play. So pretty exciting, and I hope we see it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Several things to bring before the citizens tonight. During our budget discussions, we had a lot of great debate, a lot of things that were brought to the table to discuss. And one of those things that we spent some time on, and it's already been addressed, about schools. This Board of Commissioners have been talking with the Board of Education for a number of years about a bond referendum. We did discuss that during our budget work sessions this year. That is not something that we as a Board of Commissioners can initiate. We're willing to sit down at the table and to talk with them and to try to make that happen if it's their desire. But they've got to present a plan to us. That's just, not contradicting anything that's been said. I just wanted folks to know that we have been talking about that. The thing about a bond referendum, and I stated this, I think, when our superintendent was here, is statistics that the county manager has shared with us, whether it's a sales tax, an additional sales tax, or if it's adding an additional fee taxes to your property taxes. It has not passed. You said maybe one county or no counties?
It's very rare.
It has not passed across the state of North Carolina. And so that is something, if it happens, it has to happen during either 2024 or 2026. It has to happen during a major general election. There's a lot of groundwork to do between now and 2024 if that was to happen. And it's a collaboration on both parts, but it's got to begin with the Board of Education. Not trying to pass the buck to them, but they've got to present that to us. So I did want everybody to know that that has been a part of our discussions and was part of our discussions. Also, animal shelter, and we had a lot of discussions during our budget about animal shelter too. In the budget, there's an additional how much money that will be spent on the shelter itself. I'm catching you off guard, I know.
It's approximately $500,000.
$500,000 to additional upgrades on the animal shelter. I know there are different additional concerns by citizens. Dr. Osler did start this past week. She will be coming before this board in the next few months, and we have asked her to start coming on a regular basis. We want you to hear what's going on, and we also want to hear what's going on. A lot of your tax dollars have been invested in that, and so we are paying close attention to that. And I heard, as far as the first week, and what I'm hearing, she got a lot to learn and new challenges, but things were going well. Another concern that's been addressed to a number of commissioners and to myself, I received a number of calls about it, is about fire inspections. A number of businesses, churches, excluded churches, a business, commercial property in Craven County, received notices about fire inspections. I actually received a call from, and I know you don't mind me saying, the mayor of Vanceboro, Chad Braxton, about it. The reason for that, and we want you to know, it's not a target of any business. It went out to multiple businesses. We just had in April a fire inspector who passed her fire level 1 state exam, upgrading her to a standard fire inspector level 1 certificate, and also to a probationary fire inspector level 2 certification. Fire inspections have not been done in Craven County on a regular basis for a number of years. And with this individual in place, they are calling a lot of people. And each commissioner has received, I think, probably calls about that. I know I have. Last thing I want to state that I attended the national, the Memorial Day celebration at the National Cemetery that was put on by the Veterans Council. They had several speakers there. Dr. Hines was there, who works out of Hawaii. I know Dr. Hines' father. He was the president of Mount Olive College, and he was there also to support his son. But Dr. Hines shared with us, and I wish he had the opportunity to stay in Craven County to speak more to the citizens of our county. But his job and others that he's a part of is to find the bodies of servicemen and women who lost their lives during their military service. He stated that there in Hawaii in the lab they have 100 tables. All of the 100 tables are the remains of unknown soldiers, men and women. And they have an average of trying to find, I think they said, about 150. They are able to because of technology that we have today. And he stated this, and I thought this was very significant. They had one that was, one soldier that was being buried in a national cemetery in Georgia on Memorial Day. And that family chose to do it on Memorial Day. And he said he was a part of identifying that individual who lost their lives many, many years ago. So it was a very humbling Memorial Day celebration, if you can call it a celebration, recognition for the men and women that have fought. And I agree with you, Pastor. We definitely owe all of our servicemen and women a great debt of gratitude for those who have given their lives and those who have served and those who continue to serve. Commissioners, is there anything else to bring before the Board of Commissioners this evening?
Make a motion.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion bring before the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Stand adjourned.